Part 33. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 322. That scum of Li Zhang, a damn stinky bitch. If he can't get me, he wants to use force on me. As early as the immortal era, he was demoted to the lower realm. Is he qualified to care about this saint? Is he worthy? Danja's cold and ruthless words sounded. Hearing this, at this moment, Lin Zhuchen's fist suddenly clenched. Scum! Damn stinky licking dog! Li Zhang was very kind to him. He was an orphan who was almost starving to death, but he was rescued by Li Zhang and accepted as his apprentice, so that he could be where he is today. At this moment, hearing that Master Li Zhang was trampled and insulted like this, the token of love that he regarded as a treasure was trampled to pieces. He just felt the energy in his heart was stagnant, and he felt worthless for his master. But at this time, the big black dog not far behind was suddenly furious. Wow! How dare you insult a dog? Are you worthy? Hearing damn stinky licking dog, it became angry and immediately raised its paw and said, "This emperor wants you to show your true form." In an instant, a scene actually appeared in the field. That was the immortal era, the back mountain of the three-do rice road. Brother Li Zhang, can you give me the Dao seal in your body? If you love me, give it to me. Otherwise, can you bear to see me unhappy? Without the Dao seal, I might lose my status as a saint. At that time, Danja was begging for a very handsome man. That man was surprisingly the young Li Zhang. As long as you give it to me, we can get married soon. This is my most beloved jade pendant. I give it to you as a token of our love. Li Zhang hesitated again and again, but after hearing Danja's promise, he finally gave Danja the Dao seal in his body despite his vitality being seriously injured and severely injured. The next scene showed Li Zhang lying on the hospital bed due to serious injuries, holding the jade pendant, waiting for Danja. However, Danja complained to the sect leader, claiming that Li Zhang was trying to do evil to her. Poor Li Zhang, he didn't even see Danja in the hospital bed, so he was demoted to the lower world. The scene stopped abruptly. The big black dog uttered human words, the dog's eyes were full of disdain, and said, "Does a woman like you have the right to insult a dog?" After watching this scene, everyone was a little surprised. Reverse time and space, with such magical powers, at least it's a saint. They all looked at the big black dog with some surprise. When Danja saw this, her pretty face turned pale. My own scandals. The secret that has never been told. How could it be, that he was turned over by a dog? And Lin Zhuchen was even more stunned after watching this scene. It turns out that the saint that the former master Li Zhang longed for. It's actually such a bitch. Lin Zhuchen shouted, staring at Danja, his eyes filled with anger. Young man, even though there is a holy dog behind you, you still have to pay a price for insulting our sect's holy girl like this. At this time, Taoist Master Huang Tian stepped forward and said coldly, "Hand over Kailan, or die." Lin Zhuchen even sneered, stepped forward and stretched out his hand. Just because your name is Lin Zhuchen, you deserve to be killed. You dare to scold my fiancé, you deserve to die. Hand over Kailan and I'll keep your whole body. The saints of three-do rice road all moved and approached Lin Zhuchen. Danja's past scandal? They don't care at all. Kailan is what you must get. Yes, husband, kill him for me. Only Kailan can make it up to me. Danja spoke even more viciously. Little Kailan stood on Lin Zhuchen's shoulder, waved his hoof, exposed his dragon teeth, and looked at several people angrily. As for Lin Zhuchen, his eyes gradually turned cold. The pain is gone. He only had a hatred that he had to vomit. I will kill this bitch to avenge my master. The rest of you can get away immediately and still survive. He raised his eyes with a hint of madness in his eyes. What a joke! How dare a mere saint be so arrogant? Taoist Huang Tian suddenly grabbed Lin Zhuchen with his big hand. Just do it. The other saints cooperated with the encirclement. However, in Lin Zhuchen's hand, the talisman flashed past. He himself disappeared directly from where he was. Huh? What kind of talisman can actually evade the saint? Taoist Huang Tian was surprised. He raised his eyes and saw that Lin Zhuchen had appeared in the sky. Today, 3 buckets of rice will be destroyed. Lin Zhuchen's face was filled with crazy hatred. He raised his hand, and hundreds of talismans suddenly shot out from his sleeves. These talismans were directly submerged into the towering mountains of the 3 Domi Road. How dare you? Just you, how dare you do whatever you want to do, and want to touch the foundation of our sect? Taoist Master Huang Tian shouted and stepped forward, showing the power of a saint. Terrifying attacks swept towards Lin Zhuchen from all directions. The reversal of yin and yang makes things easier. Lin Zhuchen stepped forward, but suddenly stopped shouting. Boom! Suddenly, the 3-meter-long mountain range collapsed and was destroyed. Among them, there is even a terrifying aura of creation, flooding out like a torrent. Crazy, bursting. You dare? What? This kid used a talisman to break the Holy Gathering talisman? How is this possible? Quickly, kill him, otherwise our sect will be in great trouble. At this moment, all the saints in Sandumi Road were shocked and angry. They never thought that someone could break the foundation of the sect. They were so anxious and angry that they attacked Lin Zhuchen together. However, Lin Zhuchen was standing on the 9 heavens and stretched out his hand to draw a talisman. The terrifying earth energy rolling out of the endless mountains turned into a blue dragon and suddenly engulfed all the saints below. The atmosphere is overwhelming. No. Help. In an instant, a group of saints were all terrified. Countless saint-level talismans flew out from their bodies, but they were unable to resist them at all. The energy of the earth, even if the Holy Lord came, could not be subdued. At this moment, it fell violently, and they were unable to resist at all. Ah! There were screams of misery, and in an instant, several saints exploded into blood mist. Fulu Emperor technique. No. Mr. Lin, help me. Taoist Master Huang Tian was even more panicked. He hurriedly turned around and cried out to Lin Zhuchen. 3 Domi Dao couldn't compete with the talisman skills displayed by Lin Zhuchen. Don't panic. Lin Zhuchen gritted his teeth and suddenly took out a silver charm. Suppress everything. The spell emits thousands of silver lights. This is a talisman drawn by a saint-level heavenly master. It has unlimited power. However, above the sky, Lin Zhuchen was doing his best, and hundreds of talismans suddenly burned. The silver talisman suddenly dimmed and was irresistible. No. His talisman is more advanced than our imperial clans. Seeing this scene, Lin Zhuchen was shocked. How can this be? Subconsciously, the giant dragon transformed into the energy of the earth roared towards us. Taoist Master Huang Tian was killed with a scream. Help, husband. Danja even rolled around and ran to Lin Zhuchen's side. Go away, you bitch, don't get me involved. Lin Zhuchen kicked Danja away hard, and then took out another silver charm. Save my soul! He shouted. As soon as the voice fell, the earth's energy boomed. His body immediately exploded. On the other side, Danja let out a miserable cry of unwillingness. Obviously, my life is like cheating, everything is going smoothly. I obviously want to marry into the imperial clan. Why? At this moment, she suddenly regretted. Death has finally arrived. Boom! The endless mountain range, along with 3 buckets of rice, suddenly exploded at this moment, sending smoke and dust into the sky. 3 buckets of rice said, completely destroyed. turned into ruins. Above the sky, Lin Zhuchen looked at everything below, but his face was so indifferent. The hatred is gone. Revenge has been avenged. Master, you can rest in peace, he muttered. But at this moment, suddenly, there was some kind of weird energy, suddenly sweeping up from the ground and rushing towards Lin Zhuchen. That is a strange power and strange cause and effect. Ouch! Little Kylin felt it, and let out a low whistle, and the endless auspicious aura suddenly scattered down and enveloped Lin Zhuchen. That weird power and cause and effect cannot be imposed on Lin Zhuchen. Seeing this, Lin Zhuchen was surprised. It is said in the original Creation Sutra that the art of talismans is a forbidden art and can easily be contaminated with ominous causes and effects. Therefore, the celestial master's old age is unlucky. So, is that so? He got it? On the path of the heavenly master, one will continue to be contaminated and accumulate bad luck. In his later years, if he cannot resist it, he will have an attack. And the Kylin auspicious beast can actually isolate this kind of ominous cause and effect. No wonder Kylin is the perfect match for the heavenly master. Thank you. He gently stroked the little Kylin's head. Little Kylin also nuzzled him obediently. Lin Zhuchen fell to the ground. Looking at Wu Dade and Black Dog behind him, he said, "Senior brother, Dehei, let's go." The big black dog nodded and said, "Only by understanding the cause and effect of your immortal era can you go further." Its dog eyes seemed to see through a lot. Wu Dade looked at Lin Zhuchen with some confusion and said, "Junior brother Lin, I finally understand why your profession is prone to bad luck in old age. You are absolutely monsters. You are cheating. As long as there is a suitable place of creation, saints can kill you at will." Hearing this, Lin Zhuchen smiled bitterly. In fact, Wu Dade was right. The way of heaven is constant, and the more powerful the talisman appears, the easier it is to backfire on itself. However, I am following my master, and now I have little Kylin. It seems that the way of heaven is not constant, so it will not affect it. Let's go, we should go back to the small mountain village. They set off immediately. And after they left, in the ruins of Three Domi Road, there is a broken silver charm. A remnant soul floated out quietly. I, Lin Zhuchen, will never give up. The remnant soul let out a low, unwilling cry. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 323. And at this moment, the entire northern immortal territory is immersed in shock. The ancestral land of the Kylin clan reappears. Several saint kings and saint-level figures have fallen. Above the sky, light rains continuously. Moreover, Holy Emperor-level chi machines appeared one after another. First, the decree of the ancestor of the celestial race came, and then, a broken body of the Kylin Holy Emperor unexpectedly reappeared in the northern immortal territory. Finally, the Kylin Saint Emperor even set foot on the only forbidden Yang place in the northern immortal territory, the Tianluo Mountains. It is said that somewhere, a great battle that no one can guess took place. The final outcome is unknown. But everyone speculates that the last remaining body of the Kylin Holy Emperor should have disappeared from this world. After all, the Yang Forbidden Land is synonymous with invincibility and contains great terror. Even the Imperial clan would not dare to offend it. It's really surprising that the Kylin Holy Emperor didn't die and left a body behind. The saint fell and the Emperor reappeared. This is simply unimaginable. Could it be that the terrifying Yang tide is already coming? No, the Golden Age has just begun, and the geniuses of this generation have not grown up yet. The world is talking about it. And at this moment, the center of the northern immortal territory, Ji family. In the secret hall, there are several powerful saints sitting. Ji Changming, Ji Qingyu, and Ji King stood with extremely uneasy faces. In front of them, sitting on the first seat, was a majestic middle-aged man with majestic appearance and extraordinary aura. He faintly exuded the aura of a holy king. He is the holy master of the Ji family, Ji Tianhao. Ji Tianhao is a generation of holy kings. He has been in retreat and is preparing to hit the realm of holy kings. But this time, such a big thing happened in the northern immortal territory, and he had to personally intervene. However, after listening to the narratives of Ji Changming, Ji Qingyu, and others, his brows were furrowed. The three of them actually forgot everything about Lin Luyuan. How could you forget everything? Why can you come back alive, but Fumaki and the others are all dead? You must be lying. At this time, the old man sitting on the right side of the secret hall spoke angrily, looked at Ji Tianhao who was at the head, and said, "Holy Lord, I suggest that we search the souls of the three of them. He is the old saint of Ji Fengjuan's lineage, Ji Tianyu." When he learned that Ji Fenghuan and Ji Qinglin were dead, Ji Tianyu almost went crazy. That is the most direct descendant of his lineage. Now that they are all dead, it means that their lineage's competitiveness in the clan will be greatly reduced in the future. Ji Tianhao also nodded, looked at Ji Changming and the others, and said, "This is such a serious matter that I have to search for the souls of the three of you, okay?" Hearing this, Ji Changming's expression changed and he said, "Holy Lord, what we said is absolutely not false at all. Please tell me clearly, as for searching for souls." He gritted his teeth and said, "Please Holy Master, take back your life." He is not afraid of Ji Tianhao and others searching for memories about Lin Luyuan, but once the soul is searched, all the secrets between him, Ji Qingyu and Ji Qink will no longer be hidden. In this way, things about the Lord of Desolate Sky, it will be leaked. You must know that Ji Fengjian, the supreme elder of their lineage, had repeatedly warned not to tell anyone. Haha, you still dare to push back. I think the three of you must be harboring evil intentions. The deaths of Fenghuan and Qinglin are inseparable from you. Ji Tianyu immediately sneered and said, "Holy Lord, I want to search for souls myself." The performance of Ji Changming and others made him feel more and more that he must search. Ji Tianhao also looked a little cold and said, "If there is no ghost in your heart, why worry about others searching for your soul? You three are disloyal to the family and dare to hide it? I, Ji Tianhao, will not tolerate you." He waved his sleeves and said, "Elder Tianyuo, just go ahead and search for souls." Hearing this, Ji Tianyu immediately stood up and said with a look of resentment, "I want to see how you killed Fenghuan and Qinglin." He immediately raised his hand to absorb the souls of three people. The faces of Ji Changming and the three others changed drastically. "Stop!" At this time, outside the secret palace, a loud shout suddenly sounded. I saw an old man hurriedly came in and said, "Please, the master of the family, please take back your order, and please third uncle, please show your respect." This old man is Ji Fengjian, the supreme elder of Ji Changming's lineage. A mighty saint. However, even though he is a powerful person in the holy way, he is just a junior in front of Ji Tianyu, so he must be called third uncle. Hearing this, Ji Tianyu said coldly, "Ji Fengjian, your man was disloyal to the family and suspected of killing a strong member of the family. Do you want to cover him up?" Ji Fengjian, however, bit the bullet and said, "Third uncle and Ji Changming are definitely not disloyal to the family. Rather, there are big secrets in their memories that cannot be revealed, and their souls must not be searched. Otherwise, I'm afraid it will bring disaster to our clan." Very solemn. Ji Tianhao's indifferent eyes suddenly flashed a stern look and said, "So, you know what they are hiding? Why don't you tell the head of the family to know?" He was angry. Ji Fengjian gritted his teeth and nodded, saying, "Master, this matter involves too much and cannot be known to too many people. I have already informed Holy Lord Tinpan. Ji Hapan is a sage of Ji Fengjian's lineage, a powerful man of the same generation as Ji Tianhao. When Ji Tianhao heard this, his face became even more furious. He is the head of the family. Now, Ji Fenjiun actually reported it to Ji Tinpan instead of passing by him. How can he not be angry? Moreover, although he is the Holy Lord, he has quite a rift with Ji Tinpan. Without him, he was not the only candidate for the head of the clan in the past. At that time, there was another genius competing with him, Ji Tianjing. Ji Tinpan was Ji Tianjing's supporter in the past. However, when the Yang disaster came later, Ji Tianjing chose to imitate Emperor Xuanhuan, the ancestor of the Ji family, to protect the fairyland, fight against the Yang disaster, leave the coordinates for the Ji family's return, and eventually died. Ji Tianhao, on the other hand, followed the retreat of his family and sang songs all the way. Not only did he become the head of the family without any surprise, but he also drank a supreme holy medicine and was about to reach the realm of the Holy King. But even so, Ji Tianjing in the past was still a worry for him. After all, when Ji Tianjing was there, he was almost completely enveloped by Ji Tianjing's light, and the other party was far more powerful than him. Ji Tianjing died in the disaster a long time ago, but it seems that your lineage is still disloyal to the family. There was a hint of anger in Ji Tianhao's words. Ji Fenjiun's face was even more ugly. Feeling Ji Tianhao's anger, he felt that, the family leader still had a grudge against Ji Tianjing's lineage in his heart. Reporting to the head of the family, this is not the case. This matter does involve a big secret. If it is spread out rashly, it is very likely to cause disaster. Ji Fengyuan explained. When Ji Tianyu heard this, he even sneered and said, "Joke. What big secrets can a few juniors who are not even powerful have? And bring great disaster to our clan. Ji Fenjiun, in order to protect your descendants, you can't even make a good excuse. I have searched for their souls today." As soon as he finished speaking, he continued to raise his hand. No. When Ji Fenjiun saw this, his expression changed drastically and he hurriedly intervened to stop him. "Just you." Seeing this, Ji Tianyu waved his hand. Suddenly, Ji Fenjiun stepped back, his face turned pale, and he spit out a mouthful of blood. In front of the saint, the power is not enough. As for Ji Changming and the other three, their faces were suddenly sweating profusely, and they were in great pain. Ji Tianyu's soul-searching technique began. "Third brother, you passed." At this time, another loud sound suddenly came from outside the secret palace. A terrifying energy came directly from the outside, immediately interrupting Ji Tianyu's soul-searching technique. Ji Tianyu's expression changed and he said, "Ji Tinpan." The head of the family, Ji Tianhao, also had a cold look in his eyes. Under the gaze of everyone, an old man in grey robes walked up. He had powerful eyes and extraordinary equipment. Although his head was full of white hair, he did not look old and decayed. Instead, he had the feeling of a dormant dragon. He looked directly at Ji Tianhao and said, "I gave the order that Ji Changming and the others should not leak anything." Ji Tianhao said indifferently. At this moment, the head of the family is intervening on behalf of the clan. Is this considered a leak? The head of this family would like to know if there is still a family in your eyes. Tit for tat. The expressions of the other saints changed and they did not dare to participate. Ji Tinpan and Ji Tianhao are definitely the most powerful saints in the clan. Second only to the Holy King. Ji Tinpan said. "In my eyes, of course there is a family. That's why I can't let you search for souls." Hearing this, Ji Tianhao stood up and said coldly, "I will search for it. Tianyu, let's do it." When Ji Tianyu heard this, he was immediately overjoyed. As long as the head of the family supports him, what else does he have to fear? He immediately raised his hand and enveloped Ji Changming and the others again. "You dare!" Ji Tinpan shouted angrily and immediately stepped forward. However, Ji Tianhao blocked it instantly. Both of them are the most powerful holy kings. At this moment, their auras are like that, and the terrifying power of the Holy Spirit is colliding crazily, but in a short period of time, it is impossible to tell the winner. The memories of Ji Changming and the others are already being read. Soon, Ji Tianyu paid close attention. He had already seen from the memories of Ji Changming and the others the scene when a group of them walked out of the ancient road in the void and landed in the fairyland. Immediately afterwards, Ji Changming and others drove the time and space ferry and landed in a certain direction of the northern immortal territory. He tried his best to search for his soul, but the next moment, in the memories of Ji Changming and the others, suddenly, a trace of white mist emerged. Ji Tianyu was frantically reading, and this white mist directly followed the memories of Ji Changming and others and entered his sea of consciousness. Ah! In an instant, Ji Tianyu suddenly let out a shrill scream. Blood suddenly flowed from his eyes, and his whole body twitched instantly, falling to the ground, foaming at the mouth. It's like having epilepsy. In an instant, everyone in the field was shocked. What's going on? Even Ji Tinpan and Ji Tianhao, who were fighting, were startled and stopped immediately. Boom! At this moment, in the ancestral land of the Ji family, all the emperor-level formations suddenly activated. Like facing a formidable enemy. Who lured the big weird into Ji's house? Deserves to be killed. At this time, somewhere in the ancestral land of the Ji family, there was an old shout, with unparalleled anger, spreading throughout the entire Ji family. This, an old holy king from the Ji family. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 324. The Ji family was shocked. All the emperor-level formations started with a bang. Even the old holy king, who had been in seclusion for millions of years and had never been born, was angrily awakened. In the secret hall, all the saints were extremely frightened. They stood up one after another, like avoiding snakes and scorpions, and stayed away from Ji Tianyu, who fell on the ground. He is contaminated with weirdness. No. How could this be? He just read the memories of Ji Changming and others. A group of old saints were very shocked. What the hell is going on? Ji Tianhao was stunned, completely stunned. I have long said that if you dare to search for souls, you will suffer great disaster. Ji Tinpan's face was gloomy and his brows were furrowed. The next moment, an extremely powerful aura suddenly appeared in the Ji family's main hall. An almost withered old man, at some point, had already stood in the secret hall. There was only sparse white hair left on his head, and his whole person even had an aura of death, but there was a ray of light in his old eyes. See Xuanhuan Saint King. See Xuanhuan Saint King. At this moment, all the saints knelt down and paid homage. This old man is surprisingly the holy king of the Ji family, Ji Xuanhuan. Ji Tinpan and Ji Tianhao also saluted immediately. Taishian Saint King, I'm sorry, I didn't expect to alarm you. Tianhao has neglected his duty. Ji Tianhao apologized. A Saint King level figure is the true heritage of the family. We will not take action until there is a crisis. What's more, the elder Saint Kings of the Ji family are almost exhausted. Every time they wake up, they seem to have consumed a lot of life force. Xuanhuan Saint King looked at Ji Tianyu on the ground, shook his head, and said, "It is indeed an extreme dereliction of duty. Do you know that what he is contaminated with is the most terrifying weirdness and cause and effect in the world? Fortunately, the existence involved in this cause and effect is not malicious, otherwise, I am afraid that the Ji family will be destroyed." Hearing this, everyone was shocked. Will the Ji family be destroyed? What kind of evaluation is this? You must know that the Ji family is an imperial clan and one of the most powerful forces in the entire immortal realm. Actually, if you are tainted with a trace of karma, you are in danger of destruction. Ji Tianhao was completely stunned. Sky. What happened to me? Taixuan Saint King glanced at Ji Changming and the others, his eyes extremely solemn. I am involved in cause and effect and am not in trouble, I am truly blessed. Immediately afterwards, Taixuan Saint King looked at Ji Tinpan. What's going on? Tell me everything you know. Hearing this, Ji Tinpan also nodded and was about to speak when suddenly King Taixuan thought of something again and said. Pick up the unimportant ones and tell them. I still want to live a few more years with my old bones, so don't hurt me. He is a holy king, and he understands very well that cause and effect cannot be easily contaminated, especially this kind of cause and effect that involves horror and weirdness. Just because Ji Tinpan's lineage is safe doesn't mean that others can still live well if they know about it. Ji Tinpan, Ji Tianhao and everyone in the Ji family. Everyone has complicated expressions. Even Taixuan Saint King is so stubborn. It seems that it is really amazing. Ji Tinpan thought for a while, what is considered unimportant? He was also a little frightened, fearing that if he revealed some important information, he would kill the Holy King and harm the Ji family. After thinking about it, he was finally ready to speak. However, Taixuan Saint King suddenly grabbed Ji Tianhao again and said. Listen first. If nothing weird happens, we will continue listening. After saying that, he directly used great magic power to isolate the surrounding area. Now only Ji Tianhao can hear Ji Tinpan speak. When Ji Tianhao saw this, he was shocked. He looked confused. He looked at Taixuan Saint King in haste and fear, and said, Holy King, This is something you started, so you have to bear it yourself. Taixuan Saint King speaks righteously. When Ji Tinpan heard this, he became even more panicked. Even the Holy King was afraid of himself, a little Holy King. At this moment, he regretted it. Damn it, why are you meddling in Ji Tianyu's family's business? One Ji Fengwan and the other Ji Qinglin, wouldn't it be good to let them die casually? Now, I may have to finish playing. There was a sudden burst of sweat on his forehead, but he could only bite the bullet, looked at Ji Tinpan, and said. Brother Pan, you, think about it carefully. Pick up the unimportant things and tell them, be sure to pick up the unimportant things and tell them. Please. He was really scared. Ji Tinpan was a little stunned when he saw this. Taixuan Saint King, I have to say that this old man is really a bit stubborn. He straightened his thoughts and then said to Ji Tianhao. The three of Changming have found the descendants of Tianjing's lineage. As soon as these words came out, Ji Tianhao's expression suddenly changed. A descendant of Ji Tianjing's lineage. Although he has been sitting on the throne of the family head for many years, he has never forgotten it in his heart. The pain that was once suppressed by Ji Tianjing, the genius of the generation. Now, when Ji Tianjing's descendants were mentioned, a haze flashed through his heart. At the same time, he suddenly understood why Ji Fenjiun told Ji Tinpan directly instead of telling himself. In addition, there is another big thing. Ji Tinpan then spoke. Hearing the word big event, Ji Tianhao jumped up in fright and said hurriedly. No, that's enough, that's enough. I won't talk about big things anymore. Don't talk about it. He hurriedly stopped it. Ji Tinpan was stunned for a moment. When Ji Tianhao saw Ji Tinpan stop, he was immediately grateful that nothing strange happened to him. Great. He hurriedly said to Taixuan Saint King and others. Holy King, okay, it's done. After hearing this, Taixuan Saint King saw that he was fine and there was no abnormality, so he removed his magic power. Tinpan, now you can tell us what you just told Tianhao. A witty smile appeared on his lips. Fortunately, I am cautious. Ji Tinpan immediately continued. To the Holy King, to all of you, after Changming and the others returned to the immortal realm, they discovered the descendants of Tianjing. They are in the northern border, in the great northern wilderness. Hearing this, everyone was surprised. Ji Tianjing actually has descendants. Ji Tianjing fought hard and died in the disaster, but did his descendants survive? I see. Everyone looked complicated for a while. Ji Tianjing, this name was once the pride of the Ji family. Outperforming his contemporaries and shining brightly, he even became the youngest saint among all the races of that era. The world even thinks that a second holy emperor will appear in the Ji family, who will continue the glory of the Ji family for another life. However, the disaster came and shocked the world. Ji Tianjing, however, resolutely stayed. Taixuan Saint King's eyes were full of sadness. The Sky Mirror has done great service to the Ji family. His descendants should be treated kindly. Taixuan Saint King immediately spoke and said, separated from the family for hundreds of thousands of years, it's time to return. He looked at Ji Changming and said, you three, go and bring them back. When Ji Changming heard this, he was extremely excited at the moment and said hurriedly, yes, follow the orders of the Holy King. Can Ji Yuanqing finally return to the family? He was very excited. When Ji Tianhao heard this, a hint of gloom flashed in his eyes, but he said nothing. This matter ends here. From today on, anyone who wants to search for the souls of these people will be killed without mercy. Taixuan Saint King spoke immediately. After he finished speaking, he let out a long sigh and said, it's time for me to retreat. Going out this time will cost me 100 years of life, oh! Holy King! At this time, Ji Tianhao suddenly spoke and said, Ji Tianyuo, what should he do? Can he be put into Ji Shui to save him? Ji Tianyu is the Holy Lord, and he is also his confidant. He didn't want to let Ji Tianyu die like this, and the Ji Shui of the Ji family, with the source of the holy path contained in it, could probably save Ji Tianyu. Hearing this, Taixuan Saint King almost staggered, turned back and glared at him, saying, if you want to die, don't hurt the family. After saying that, he disappeared directly. In the field, Ji Tianhao's face suddenly turned ugly. This matter is over, Changming, you immediately start looking for Tianjing's descendants. Ji Tinpan spoke to Ji Changming. After hearing this, Ji Changming and others set off immediately. Many saints in the field also dispersed. Ji Tianhao sat in the secret hall for a long time, thinking deeply, hesitating for a long time, and suddenly said, call my son Ji Changxiao. Not long after, a middle-aged man appeared. This man's face was similar to Ji Tianhao's, and he was clearly his son, Ji Changxiao. Father, why are you calling the child? But just now the Holy King came out of seclusion, what happened? He spoke doubtfully. Ji Tianhao slowly raised his eyes and said, the descendants of Ji Tianjing have appeared. Ji Changxiao was immediately shocked and said, his descendants. Ji Changxiao understood very well, Ji Tianjing was his father's heartache. If he is his descendant, I'm afraid some people in the clan will follow his descendants. Ji Changxiao spoke worriedly. So we can't let them come back. Ji Tianhao spoke coldly and said, you go. So. When Ji Changxiao heard this, his expression changed and he said, but, will this offend Saint King Taixuan? After all, he spoke in person. Ji Tianhao's eyes turned cold and he said, the Ji family is not a holy king like him. To be able to become the head of the family and become a saint king, he naturally has the support of saint king level figures behind him. However, those saint kings are much older than Taixuan Saint King, and they may run out of gas and completely perish at any time, so they dare not leave the seclusion. When Ji Changxiao heard this, he suddenly said, by the way, Father, there shouldn't be any weirdness involved in this matter, right? What happened in the Ji family's secret palace has spread throughout the world, and now everyone knows that Ji Tianyue, the saint of the Ji family, was completely crippled because he was contaminated by the weird. He was really a little scared. No, this matter is not weird. Everyone knows the news, isn't it a good thing? Ji Tianhao spoke. Ji Changxiao nodded and said immediately. My child must take care of it. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 325. Ji Changming, Ji Qingyu and others have already left the Ji family and are on their way to Baidawang. They rode the Holy Path spacecraft and traveled in the sky. This time, Senior Ji Yuanqing and others can finally return to the clan. Ji Qing said happily. Ji Changming also smiled easily and said. Sage King Taixuan has spoken personally. After they enter the family, no one should dare to embarrass them. He was quite worried before that when Ji Tianjing was alive in the past, he suppressed Ji Tianhao. Ji Tianhao was by no means a man of great ambition, and he was afraid that Ji Tianjing's descendants would be made things difficult for him. Now, everything is settled. Huh? Why is there something wrong with the surrounding atmosphere? At this time, Ji Qingyu suddenly frowned. Ji Changming also raised his eyes suddenly, only to find that the surrounding space was actually a little distorted. No. We have mistakenly entered a certain space array. Quickly retreat. He shouted hurriedly. However, the countless space paths around them are changing, and they are already trapped in the magic circle. And at this moment, somewhere in the sky, Ji Changxiao led a team of people and waited indifferently. Not long after, a figure flew quickly from the sky. It was a young man. He shouted towards Ji Changxiao. Father, the formation has been set up. This young man is the son of Ji Changxiao and the grandson of the head of the family, Ji Tianhao, Ji Qinghe. This time, the people Ji Changxiao brought were almost all the most direct relatives and the most trustworthy. Very good, now it's time for us to find Ji Tianjing's descendants. They headed towards Baidawang. In the Huangtian Mountains. The area that originally belonged to Huangtianzhou had undulating mountains and a meandering river flowing. Among them, the aura of the holy path is extremely strong. In the mountains, among the buildings, Ji Yuanqing is urging the young people in the clan to practice. Our lineage is getting more and more prosperous. Ji Yuanqing sighed with emotion. Since receiving the Ji Shui Dao map from Senior Li, their lineage has regained a complete cultivation inheritance. Moreover, Ji Yuanqing had previously received a pot of tea in Li Fan's courtyard. With the help of that pot of tea, the young generation in this clan underwent a qualitative change. There are more and more geniuses, and 3 or 4 of them have already broken through to the realm of saints and become true saints. Ji Yuanqing himself made great strides with each passing day, successfully breaking into the realm of opening up the sea. This made Ji Yuanqing extremely excited. He seemed to be half alive again, his vitality and blood had recovered a lot, and he looked much younger. All of this is a gift from Senior Li. Ji Yuanqing looked at the young people in the clan, felt the majestic power in his body, and sighed. Clan leader, when can we return to the Ji clan? At this time, a young man came over and wiped the sweat from his face. He is the most powerful young man in this lineage, Ji Qingbin. Ji Qingbin has entered the late stage of Shenjian realm and has strong qualifications. Hearing Ji Qingbin's question, other people also looked over, with some expectation on their faces. Although the resources of their lineage have already been sufficient, they have obtained the complete Dharma, and there is also a Huangtian river full of the source of the Holy Way. However, after being lost in the immortal realm for hundreds of thousands of years, they still have a hope for the return of their main sect. It should be soon. The Holy Era and the Golden Age have begun. The family has established a firm foothold in the central region of the northern immortal territory. Someone will be sent to pick us up soon. Ji Yuanqing also spoke, full of expectation. Where is Ji Yuanqing? Come out quickly to see the elders of the Ji clan. At this moment, shouts rang out outside the mountain gate. When Ji Yuanqing heard this, he was immediately happy. Has the family finally arrived? He immediately summoned his tribe. He personally led the people out of the mountain gate, saw the imperial spaceship in the sky, and said, Ji Yuanqing, welcome the elders of the clan. In the air, Ji Changxiao stood proudly, but as he stared at the river surrounding the mountains below, there was some uncertainty in his eyes. Because, this river, clearly contains the source of the holy path. Moreover, the level is so high that even I can't see through it. How could a mere native of the immortal realm have such a blessed place? Moreover, it is so similar to Jishui. There are records in the clan that Jishui, our clan, comes from an ancient sacred painting. The ancestor also became a holy emperor because of seeing that painting. A river similar to Jishui appeared here. Could it be? He was very confused, but immediately shook his head. No one had seen that ancient sacred painting even when the ancestor was alive. It was rumored that it had been lost long ago. How could it appear here? He didn't think much and drifted away. May I ask the elder, please give me your surname. Ji Yuanqing came up and asked questions respectfully. My name is Ji Changxiao. Ji Changxiao spoke indifferently. I've seen the elders, please. Ji Yuanqing respectfully extended his hand. But Ji Changxiao shook his head and said, there's no need to be polite. I'm too lazy to beat around the bush. Although your lineage stayed in the immortal realm and didn't do much, you still have the blood of the Ji family in your body. This time, on behalf of the clan, I'm here to bestow you with some blessings. So that you can return to your clan. Hearing this, Ji Yuanqing's face suddenly turned ugly. The other party's words were a bit too much. But Ji Yuanqing could only lower his head and said, thank you, elder. Don't be in a hurry to thank me. Ji Changxiao said calmly. Although I promise to let you return to the clan, you still have to be a little self-aware. He sneered slightly and said, the inheritance of your lineage has been cut off, and the ancestral blood has become thin. Returning to the clan will only be a burden to the Ji family. I want to select a few elites from your lineage to work as handymen in the clan. So that they can have something to eat in troubled times. As for you, when you are old and useless, how about you stay here with the others and take care of yourself? He spoke naturally. Ji Yuanqing's face froze. He seemed unable to believe what he heard. Choose the elites of your own lineage to work as handymen in the clan? You and others, stay here and fend for themselves. Is this a gift from the family? Haha, don't be shameless. What's the difference between you and the ant natives in the fairyland now? You don't really think of yourself as a member of the Ji family, do you? Ji Qinghe even sneered and stepped forward, patting Ji Yuanqing's shoulder casually. Clan leader, we will never be humiliated. From behind, Ji Qingbin spoke with a livid face. The Ji clan, at worst, I won't go back. We can live a good life here. Ji Yuanqing's clan members are excited. Is this what the clan means? Ji Yuanqing raised his eyes, looked at Ji Changxiao, gritted his teeth and asked. Ji Changxiao frowned slightly and said, are you questioning me? He raised his hand. Suddenly, the holy Dao fell down. Ji Yuanqing flew out directly and hit the floor hard. He was vomiting blood and his face was pale. Ji Changxiao is a quasi-powerful person in the Four Luminaries realm. Ji Yuanqing is only in the Sea Opening realm and is far from his opponent. You. Be bold. It's too much. Ji Yuanqing's tribe and others were very angry. King He, pick a few that you like and bring them back to the clan to be slaves, lest the clan say that we have neglected Ji Tianjing's lineage. Ji Changxiao spoke coldly. When Ji Qinghe heard this, he immediately stepped out and sneered. Come, 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 if you want to return to the clan, come here and kowtow 3 times, and I will take him back to the clan. Arrogant. However, everyone in Ji Yuanking's lineage looked at him angrily, and no one moved. Your anger and self-esteem are worthless. Kowtow a few times and you will definitely gain more than you lose. Ji Qinghe took out a golden elixir and said. Hayden, you bunch of rubes must have never seen it before, right? Taking 1 pill can directly elevate the holy yin cultivator to the realm of opening up the sea. It is of immeasurable value. He dropped the golden elixir on the ground and crushed it with his foot. Those who kneel down can take this elixir. Even if it falls on the ground, the efficacy of the elixir will not be reduced at all. Ha ha, ha ha ha. Ji Qinghe laughed. It's too much. Next to Ji Yuanqing, Ji Qingbin had blue veins popping out on his face. He was extremely angry and shouted. Get out. You dare to ask me to leave? Ji Qinghe looked cold and said, I want you to die. He took 1 step forward and was in front of Ji Qingbin in an instant. Blast out with 1 palm. Ji Qinghe has entered the realm of opening up the sea, and when he broke through the realm, he even survived the 4th level of heavenly tribulation. The speed is very fast, and the power is even more powerful. Facing the palm, Ji Qingbin was not afraid and suddenly raised his hand. It seemed as if there were huge waves rolling along with it. Boom. Blast out with 1 palm. Ji Qingbin stepped back a few hundred steps, and a trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. There is a huge difference in realm. After all, Ji Qingbin is only in the realm of Shenjian. Ji Qinghe remained motionless, with a sneer on his lips. Kneel down and be a slave. He stared at Ji Qingbin. However, Ji Qingbin's eyes were filled with cruelty. He suddenly took out a leaf from his arms. That's a tea leaf. It seems as if it has been boiled and left for a long time. This is leftover from the pot of tea that Ji Yuanqing brought back to his family from the small mountain village. He picked up the tea leaves and chewed them directly. Suddenly, his whole aura surged. He is breaking through to the realm of opening up the sea. In an instant, countless holy auras poured into the river surrounded by mountains. Moreover, in the blink of an eye, there was a thunder disaster coming from the sky. A full 8-fold. 8 levels of thunder tribulation. Suddenly, everyone around them hurriedly moved away, fearing that they would be implicated. Ji Qingbin jumped into the thunder sea and fought against the thunder tribulation, and his aura became more and more powerful. What kind of tea is that? Can it actually make him break through instantly? 8th level thunder tribulation, my god, this person is an ancient genius, an ancient genius. The 8th level thunder tribulation, even among the ancestors of the Ji family, there are no more than 5 people with such records, right? For a moment, everyone in the main sect of the Ji clan was shocked. This son must not be kept. Ji Changxiao's face was extremely gloomy, and his murderous intention became even more intense. If the clan knew that among Ji Tianjing's descendants there was a peerless prodigy with the 8th level of thunder tribulation, then the status of their lineage would be even more unstable. He just relies on the treasure, he is not a genius at all, he is all because of that tea leaf. Ji Qinghe spoke gloomily. He didn't want to believe that a country bumpkin who stayed behind in the heaven was actually more qualified than himself. At this moment, the heavenly tribulation was finally over, and Ji Qingbin struggled to get out of the thunder tribulation. Kill him. Ji Changxiao spoke coldly. Ji Qinghe nodded, stepped forward, and shouted. I grant you death. He punched out and tried his best to kill Ji Qingbin before he could recover his energy. At this moment, Ji Qingbin suddenly slapped his palm towards Ji Qinghe. Bang! With a loud noise, Ji King He was shot thousands of meters away and hit a mountain peak, knocking out a huge crater in the hard peak body. My son. Ji Changxiao's expression changed, he took one step forward and already hugged Ji King He back. Ji King He's body was covered in blood, and all his meridians were severed. No. Dad, take revenge for me. There was blood in his mouth, and his eyes were full of resentment and unwillingness. And Ji Changxiao raised his eyes, with murderous intent blazing in his eyes. How dare you hurt my son? He stared at Ji Qingbin and others and said. Today you shall all be destroyed. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 326. Ji Changxiao stared at Ji Qingbin and others, stepped forward step by step, and spoke solemnly. According to the clan rules, if you harm a fellow clan member, you can be killed directly. I will destroy you and the clan won't say anything. Intimidation. At this moment, Ji Yuanqing suddenly burst into laughter. Desolate laughter. Our ancestors stayed in this world so that the clan could find their way back. Is this the clan's reward? Hurt the same race? Have you ever thought that we are the same race? In this case, we are of the same lineage, so today, we will leave the Ji family. His heart was cold. Protected for thousands of generations. The ancestors died in battle, the first heaven was destroyed, and they even forgot who they were for a time. In exchange for this ending. Why should such a family return? How brave! Go against the Ji clan? You should be killed. His holy Dao cultivation exploded, and he struck Ji Yuanqing, Ji Qingbin, and others with a fierce palm. This palm almost covered all of Ji Yuanqing's clan members. The killing intent is boiling. Extinction. Ji Yuanqing's eyes were motionless as that palm fell. He suddenly took out a painting. That's the Jishui picture he got from Li Fan. The scroll is not opened, just lifted. Ji Changxiao struck the scroll with a palm. All attacks are like a mud cow entering the sea. A faint energy emanated from the scroll. No. Ji Changxiao's old eyes suddenly revealed a look of horror. This Ji machine was clearly terrifying to the extreme. From a saint? No. He resisted with all his strength, and on his chest, there was a shining bronze mirror, protecting him. This bronze mirror is a holy instrument, and it emits the light of the holy way at this moment. However, when the Qi machine arrived, the bronze mirror exploded to pieces. The holy weapon exploded. Ah! With a scream, Ji Changxiao flew out of the door. Bang! After landing hard, Ji Changxiao's face changed horribly and his whole body convulsed. Elder! Elder! Everyone in the Ji family, the main sect, hurriedly stepped forward and helped Ji Changxiao up. All of them looked horrified. What was that scroll? So scary? You must know that Ji Changxiao is a quasi-powerful person, and he even has a saint-level bronze mirror by his side. That picture scroll actually seriously injured him with a Qi machine and destroyed the saint-level bronze mirror? This shows that the scroll is at least the magical weapon of a saint-level figure, or even higher. I understand, this is the painting that was lost in the clan. Go. Take me back to the clan, quickly. Ji Changxiao was extremely frightened. Immediately, everyone picked up their grandfather and grandson, turned around and ran away. I don't dare to stop at all. In an instant, everyone who came from the head of the Ji family left. At this moment, Ji Yuanqing put down the scroll. Clan leader. Us. Everyone looked at Ji Yuanqing. From now on, we have nothing to do with the Ji family outside. Ji Yuanqing shook his head. At this moment, his eyes were so indifferent and calm. In order to leave a coordinate for their family, their ancestors died in battle and their descendants were killed. In the immortal era, countless immortals struggled to survive. Even an immortal king was killed, and the first heaven was defeated. Burst. After suffering all the hardships, he thought that he would finally be able to return to his family in the era of the holy path. What we got was this result. But, at this moment, he suddenly understood. G family. The main sect? After hundreds of thousands of years, why bother to go back and rely on it? His eyes gradually became firmer and he said, everything in our lineage was given by the Lord of Desolate Heaven. From today on, we will serve the Lord of Desolate Heaven. He turned his head, looked at Ji King Ben, and said, I'll take you to the Wild Sky Alliance. Although he had always been on good terms with the Wild Sky Alliance before, he never joined. Because he knew that he was from the Ji family. With his family around, it was impossible for him to seek refuge with anyone or surrender to anyone. But now, it has turned out to be the Ji family. He doesn't hesitate anymore. Hearing this, everyone in the clan nodded. Obviously, the words Lord of the Wild Sky gave them a greater sense of belonging. Immediately, Ji Yuanqing reopened the scroll, took back the long river reflected in reality, and then left. Shortly after, another airship finally appeared here. It was Ji Changming and others. They were trapped by the space magic circle and managed to break through it, but it wasted a lot of time. Huh? No. What's so different here? Ji Changming looked at the mountains in front of him and was suddenly startled. The last time he came, there was a surging river here, shaped like Jishui, as if it contained the source of the terrifying holy path. But now the river is gone. There were only a few empty buildings left in the mountains, and the Holy Spirit in the air was thin. What happened? When Ji Changming and others landed, they were all shocked. At the mountain gate, there is a stone tablet. Ji Tianjing's lineage has come out of the Ji family. From now on, it's a clean break. On the stone tablet, there are two short lines of words. Ji Changming suddenly lost his voice and said, this. Soon. In the middle of the northern immortal territory, the ancestral home of the Ji family. Something bad is going to happen. Elder Ji Changxiao has been deposed. The group of returning people exclaimed. Suddenly, the whole Ji family was shaken. What? Elder Ji Changxiao was seriously injured and even disabled? How is this possible? Ji Changxiao is the son of the head of the family. Who dares to mess around? Let's go and take a look. There was a lot of discussion. There was a big earthquake in the clan, the supreme elders and others gathered quickly, and all the saint-level experts came out of seclusion. Soon, enter the main hall. What happened? What happened? Ji Tianhao looked at Ji Changxiao and Ji Qinghe on the ground. At this moment, he completely lost control. His heart is bleeding. His son, grandson, was destroyed like this. Moreover, the injury was clearly extremely terrifying, as if it had been hit by a supreme object. Even with holy medicine, it might not be able to be cured. Reporting to the head of the family, Ji Yuanqing, the descendant of Ji Tianjing's lineage, is so arrogant that he actually used a magical weapon to sneak attack Elder Ji Changxiao. A cultivator who went with Ji Changxiao and others spoke. Ji Changxiao on the ground said with difficulty. Father, Ji Tianjing's lineage hidden legendary ancestral objects, they even opened up a river with the source of the holy way. They also said they would leave the sect. There is hatred in his eyes. When Ji Tianhao heard this, murderous intent swept through his eyes. Ji Tianjing. He clenched his fists and was extremely angry. He was once suppressed by Ji Tianjing, and now, his descendants are actually being crippled by Ji Tianjing's descendants. Immortal hatred. Come here, start a clan war. I will personally go to the great northern wilderness to capture the traitors. He is extremely angry. Start a clan war. Many saints in the field were shocked. No. At this time, a loud shout came from outside. Everyone turned around and saw that Ji Tinpan had arrived with Ji Changming and others. His face was extremely gloomy and he said, Ji Tianhao, you are so brave. Sage King Taixuan ordered Changming to go and welcome the Tianjing lineage back to the clan. You actually dare to interfere with it? Where do you put the Holy King? Hearing this, Ji Tianhao said coldly. You don't need to comment, I will invite the Holy King. Because I have found the treasure that has been lost in the clan. The ancestral treasure of our clan was not lost at all, but was stolen by Ji Tianjing. Back then, he did not want to give the clan queen, but wanted to monopolize the treasure. After saying that, he waved his hand. Next to it, a saint suddenly burned incense. That is, the incense that awakens the Holy King in the clan. Only in the face of catastrophe will it ignite. You dare to disturb the Holy King's Kingziu? Are you crazy? Ji Tinpan's expression suddenly changed. The Holy King is the biggest trump card in the clan. He must not be easily awakened until the clan is exterminated. The last time, the Taixuan Holy King was alarmed and had already lost 100 years of life. Immediately afterwards, in several retreats in the Ji family. Suddenly, a few breaths that seemed to come from ancient times, were awakened. Is the clan facing a big disaster? An old man in grey robes walked out of the retreat, holding a cane in his hand, and reached the secret hall in one step. When he appeared, many saints in the temple knelt down and worshipped. See the Holy King Taishan. Everyone shouted in unison. This is the old Holy King of the Ji family, Ji Taishan. I've been sleeping for an eternity, what's going to wake us up? Immediately afterwards, another old man appeared. This old man was very thin, but his whole person had an aura of Yuanting and Yuji. See Taigang Holy King. Everyone in the Ji family continued to speak. Ji family's Holy King, Ji Taigang. After the Taigang Saint King, the third one to appear was the last Saint King, Ji Taixuan. After he appeared, he was very surprised and said, What's going on? You woke me up again, do you want me to die on purpose? And Ji Tianhao has already said. Reporting to the three Holy Kings, Tianhao discovered the supreme ancestral artifact that our clan once lost. It's most likely the legendary scroll. Hearing this, the three Holy Kings were all shocked. What? Do you mean what you said? Even the Holy King is extremely dignified. Because, that legendary ancestral weapon created their imperial clan. Emperor Xuanhuan of their clan became the Holy Emperor only because of seeing that scroll. If this thing comes out, it will really be called a supreme secret. It's absolutely true, that scroll was stolen by Ji Tianjing. Ji Tianhao opened his mouth and pointed at Ji Changxiao and Ji Qinghe on the ground. My son and grandson were injured by that artifact. Upon hearing this, the three Holy Kings immediately stepped forward. After just one glance, the faces of the three Holy Kings were extremely solemn. Yes, I was injured by the supreme magic weapon, and even I can't see through it. Taishan Holy King is extremely dignified. There is indeed a trace of energy that makes the skills in my body feel. Could it be said that we have really found that thing? Taigong Saint King was even more excited. Totally excited. Only Taixuan Saint King, after reading it, suddenly said coldly. Your son and grandson were injured by that artifact. Why did you say that it was stolen by Ji Tianjing? Ji Tianhao gritted his teeth and said. I asked Chang Xiao and Qing He to greet the return of Ji Tianjing's descendants, Ji Yuan Qing and others. However, they used the treasure to sneak attack. Nonsense. Taixuan Saint King immediately shouted angrily and said. You are so brave. I ordered people to bring Ji Tianjing's descendants back to the clan, but you dare to disobey my order and hinder me. Do you want to die? As a holy king, how could he not see through Ji Tianhao's little moves? Ji Tianhao gritted his teeth, turned his head, looked directly at Saint King Taishan and Saint King Taigong, and said, Tian Hao, for the sake of the clan, please ask the two holy kings to make the decision for me. Seeing this, Saint King Taishan and Saint King Taigong also frowned. There may be some minor disagreements, but Xuanhuan, you don't have to worry about it. The most important thing now is to go to the great northern wilderness and find the artifact. Taishan Holy King spoke. Yes, if the ancestral artifact is really in the hands of Ji Tianjing's descendants, it means that it was indeed Ji Tianjing who stole the ancestral artifact back then. Maybe some people in the clan should be liquidated. Saint King Taigong spoke coldly and stared at Saint King Taixuan. When Taixuan Saint King heard this, he immediately became extremely angry and said, Do you think I am trying to protect Ji Tianjing's lineage? I'm here to protect the Ji family. Do you know that in the great northern wilderness, there must be a great terror that the entire Ji family cannot afford to provoke? Hearing this, Saint King Taishan and Saint King Taigong just shook their heads. Taishan, it's over. Taishan Saint King said. I understand how you feel. After all, Ji Tianjing is a genius who was trained by you, but now, the ancestral artifact has been found in the hands of his descendants. Taigong Saint King even said coldly, no need to say more, just go to the great northern wilderness and everything will fall into place naturally. When the time comes, you will also be responsible for the stolen ancestral artifact. His words are cold. Taixuan Saint King was filled with anger, but felt unable to vent it at this moment. He simply said nothing and said immediately, Good. I'm too desperate. Let's see today, who will die first, me or you two? Immediately, the three holy kings of the Ji family, several holy kings, and more than a dozen saints, set out together. They are heading to the great northern wilderness. At this moment, in Baidawang, outside the small mountain village, Lin Juchhan, Wu Dade, and others finally came back. Come on, Master will be happy to see us bringing back such good ingredients. Wu Dade glanced at the plump herring in his hand, and his eyes lit up. They entered the village immediately. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 327. Wild Sky Alliance. Ji Yuanqing led his tribe to arrive here. After the announcement, he quickly walked into the Alliance Hall. Senior, long time no see, how are you? Huo Linger asked with a smile. They and Ji Yuanqing were already old friends. Ji Yuanqing opened his mouth and said, Leader Lao, you care about us. Everything is well with our clan. Come today and ask to join the Wild Sky Alliance. Hearing this, Huo Linger and Mu Jianing immediately looked at each other. Mu Jianing asked in confusion, Senior, why did you suddenly decide like this? They all already know that Ji Yuanqing's lineage is a branch of the Ji clan. The Ji family is an imperial clan, and according to common sense, they should return to the family. Now, they actually decided to join the Wild Sky Alliance. Ji Yuanqing sighed deeply and said, The family doesn't tolerate it. We have left the Ji family and have nowhere to go. Everything we have was given to us by Senior Li. From today on, I only wish to follow Senior Li and serve him. When Huo Linger heard this, he thought for a moment. We still have to report this matter to Senior Li. She spoke. After all, the matter involves the Imperial clan. Sister Linger, let's go find Senior Li now. Mu Jianing stood up and spoke. Small village. It was dusk. Dade and the others don't know what's going on. Li Fan sat under the peach tree and drank tea leisurely, looking forward to it. After all, according to what Huo Linger said, after his White Tiger Roars to the Sky picture was released, Someone outside could draw a Kylan picture to rival it. I made another picture of the unicorn coming out of the valley. I wonder if it can overwhelm the opponent? For the first time in so many years, he felt a little competitive and a little hopeful. After all, his various skills before were all for his own entertainment. "Master, we are back." At this time, Wu Dade's voice sounded outside the door. "Come in." Li Fan spoke immediately. I saw Wu Dade and Lin Zhuzhen pushing the door in. The big black dog followed Wu Dade, and on Lin Zhuzhen's shoulder, there was a little creature sitting. The little creature has a dragon head, elk body, ox tail, and horse hooves. At this moment, as soon as it entered the small courtyard, its big eyes suddenly showed a timid look, a little afraid. Seeing this little creature, everyone in the courtyard was suddenly surprised and pleasantly surprised. "Wow, what kind of animal is this? Madam is so cute." Zi Ling's eyes sparkled, and she immediately walked over and looked at little Kylan curiously. Is it a Kylan? It's exactly the same as the one in Master's picture of the Kylan coming out of the valley. There is something complicated on Nanfan's face. It seems that the reason why Master drew the picture of Kylan coming out of the valley was because of this little Kylan, right? He, the old man, had long expected that there was a Kylan outside, so he sent junior brother Lin to wait out. The legendary beast was actually brought back by junior brother Lin. Zhang Li and others looked even more shocked. "Not bad, not bad. I wonder what this little guy eats? It would be great if he eats grass. He can raise it with my little golden calf." Lu Rang was also very excited. He pulled the little golden bull over. When the little golden bull saw the little unicorn, its big eyes were suddenly filled with curiosity. Little Kylan was originally very timid, but when he saw the little golden calf, he suddenly became happy and gave a few milky squeaks to the little golden cow. The little Taurus also responded with moo. The two little guys seemed to be greeting each other. Lin Zhuzhen saluted Li Fan and said, "Master, the mission is successfully completed. Also, we found a rare animal and a rare plant." As he spoke, he also took out the old tree stump. When the old tree stump appeared in the small courtyard, the old wooden body seemed to be trembling. Li Fan was also very surprised when he heard this. The crystal piece is already glowing, unmistakable. This time, the harvest is really huge. He walked over, looked at little Kylan, and couldn't help but smile, and said, "I didn't expect that there really are such creatures in the world. It is indeed a fairyland, full of wonders. There is even a unicorn?" Li Fan had only heard of this kind of creature in myths and legends. No wonder it was a rare species. He couldn't help but gently touch Xiao Kylan's head. Little Kylan looked at Li Fan with big eyes. He was not afraid of strangers, but nuzzled Li Fan's palm obediently. "Yes, Zhuzhen, you can keep this little animal from now on." Li Fan spoke. Hearing this, Lin Zhuzhen was overjoyed and said, "Obey. Disciple must treat it well." And little Kylan seemed to understand, and immediately began to have fun in Lin Zhuzhen's arms. "Ah, master, I have to go out to find pets next time, I can't help it." Seeing this scene, Zi Ling's big eyes were full of envy. The other disciples are also looking forward to it more and more. They wonder when the master will give them and others such an opportunity. After all, adopting a mythical beast is rare. Li Fan also smiled. "Yes, master." At this time, Lin Zhuzhen continued to speak and said, "This old tree." There was hope in his eyes. The tree was almost dead, and he was really worried about whether it could be saved. The little unicorn also jumped to the side of the old tree stump. Its big eyes looked at Li Fan pitifully, as if pleading for the old tree root. Li Fan looked at the old tree stump and thought for a moment. This old tree stump is indeed exhausted and almost impossible to save. However, since it is a rare plant, no matter what, You have to give it a try. Gong Ya, bring me a pot of herbal tea. He spoke immediately. After hearing this, Gong Ya from behind immediately said, "As you command." She quickly took a pot of herbal tea and handed it to Li Fan. Li Fan immediately picked up the teapot and poured the cold tea on the old tree stump. In an instant, a green branch suddenly appeared on the old rotten tree stump. That branch is like a willow tree in early spring. Although it looks weak, it is full of infinite vitality. Seeing this scene, all the disciples were instantly shocked. "This, Master, a pot of tea can actually resurrect the dead Kirin tree." Wu Dade was shocked. "Master, this is a way to reverse life and death. It's too scary." Lu Rang's eyes were even more solemn and he murmured, "Sure enough, cultivating the Dao, if practiced to the extreme, can become the most amazing secret technique in the world." His eyes were filled with unparalleled confidence. "Master's medical skills can heal all things in the world, it's so unbelievable." Subakian was even more shocked. She took a deep breath. At this moment, she felt that Li Fan had opened up a whole world for her. Doctors can heal everything in the world. Li Fan was a little surprised when he saw this. Once, when he was being systematically ravaged for cultivation, he learned that the cooked tea contains a variety of minerals and organic matter, which is very beneficial to plant growth. Unexpectedly, it is really useful. It seems that although the system is useless in terms of cultivation, its knowledge of agricultural technology is still reliable. It would be great if he could travel to other worlds. With his farming skills, he could cultivate a piece of heaven. Li Fan couldn't help but sigh, looked at the old tree stump and said, "Thousands of sails pass by the side of the sunken boat, and thousands of trees spring in front of the diseased trees. It's a blessing to be able to come back to life today. Lu Rang, plant the old tree next to the sapling. Remember to use the tea leaves in the herbal tea to protect its roots. The tea leaves in herbal tea have been cooked and are rich in organic matter. After decaying, they are good for the roots of plants." Hearing this, Lu Rang next to him immediately said, "Okay, master." He hugged the old tree stump and went to plant it. Thousands of sails are passing by the side of the sunken boat, and thousands of spring trees are in front of the diseased trees. Big brother, these two poems are so meaningful. At this time, Zinning next to him spoke, with a hint of curiosity and expectation in his eyes, saying, "Brother, can you teach me?" She clearly felt that in these two lines of poetry, there was a kind of vicissitudes of eternal life, a kind of desolation after seeing life and death, and a kind of loneliness. If you understand it thoroughly, you may be able to reach a higher level. When Li Fan heard this, he also smiled. Xianning was indeed eager to learn, and his teachings had not been in vain. He immediately said, "Sure." As he spoke, he immediately read out the entire poem. "Bashan Chushui is a desolate place, abandoned for 23 years. Nostalgic for listening to the flute poems in the air, and when I go to the countryside to read them, I feel like a bad person. Thousands of sails pass by the side of the sunken boat, and thousands of trees spring in front of the diseased trees. Listen to a jung song today, and stay refreshed with a glass of wine for now." He finished reading. As his poem fell, Xianning's big eyes fell into deep contemplation. Nostalgically reciting the flute poems in the air, and when I go to the countryside to read it, I feel like a dead person. Thousands of sails pass by the side of the sunken boat, and thousands of trees spring in front of the diseased tree. Big brother, how many great lives have you experienced? There is a saying in Buddhism that the other shore is lonely, master is alone on the other shore, waiting for something. His great wish is to save all sentient beings after thousands of sails have passed, and thousands of trees will spring. Is this to save all sentient beings? Master's spirit is astonishing throughout the ages. As expected of the Supreme True Buddha. Qing Chen looked at Li Fan with pious and fanatical eyes. In the desolate place of Bashan Chushui, I have been abandoned for 23 years, Master, have you ever waited alone? How many years of changes has he endured before he has such an understanding? Nanfeng murmured. She looked at Li Fan, and suddenly there was a different emotion in her beautiful eyes. At this moment, she suddenly felt that behind Master's seemingly calm and carefree life, there was an unspeakable sad past. Thousands of sails are passing by the side of the sunken boat, and thousands of trees are growing in front of the diseased tree. Is this why Master accepted us? His old man has experienced a great catastrophe, and he is the only one left, that's why he needs to pass on people. Are you going to fight against a catastrophe? Zhang Li's heart suddenly surged with excitement. He stared at Li Fan and suddenly thought of what the Emperor of Black and White once said: as time goes by, the Master alone will be responsible for the calamity of eternity. There was so much reverence in his eyes. Ziling didn't know what she was thinking of, and her big eyes were a little moist, saying, Master, we will always be by your side in the future, you will not be alone. Li Fan was stunned when he saw this. What are these disciples doing? But he immediately understood, did they regard this poem as their own voice? After all, there is a sense of desolation and loneliness in this poem. You don't have to be like this. Master is just expressing his feelings casually. It's nothing. Li Fan smiled, looked at Wu Dade, and said, Master, where did you get such fat herring? After Wu Dade finished listening to Li Fan's poems, he was still confused at first. He didn't know why his brothers and sisters had such expressions, because he had never been to school. I don't know what the poem means. Seeing Master speaking at this moment, he immediately said with joy, Master, this fish is thanks to this dead dog, it got it? Look, it's still alive and has good ingredients. Li Fan also nodded and said, it looks really good. Such a big fish is enough for us to have a meal. Tonight, Master will make fish hot pot for you. Hearing this, many disciples became happy, and the sadness just now was swept away. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 328. In the small courtyard. A group of disciples were very excited when they heard that Li Fan was going to cook fish hot pot himself. They all got busy. Ziling, Nanfeng, Gongya and others were talking and laughing while choosing vegetables, while Wu Dade and others brought out the chopping board and placed the plump herring on the chopping board. Master, do you want to use the knife yourself? Duguyuking and others looked at Li Fan with burning eyes. Li Fan nodded and said with a smile, why, do you want to learn it? His cooking skills have also been destroyed by the system, so he is still quite confident. Right. Duguyuking and others nodded like chickens pecking at rice. Other disciples were watching. Li Fan nodded and said, okay, then I will teach you. Just in time, let these disciples learn cooking skills to prevent them from finding wives in the future. In this day and age, it is easy to be single if you don't know how to cook. He immediately picked up the kitchen knife and said, the first step is to remove the scales. He immediately started to move the knife quickly, and the scales fell rapidly from the saint-level herring. Soon, all the scales will be gone. The second step is to get rid of the dirt. Li Fan moved his knife and cut open the belly of the fish. With a pick of the knife, all the internal organs of the fish were removed. The next step is to fillet the fish. For this step, you need to master your knife skills. Li Fan spoke calmly, and immediately the knife passed through the plump herring like running water. At this moment, all the disciples suddenly stared at Li Fan in shock. What kind of sword technique is this? I clearly feel that every sword has the power to cut through the universe. Wu Dade looked shocked. It is obviously full of great power, but it is so light and easy. Even the world can be easily destroyed with a knife. When it lands on the flesh of a fish, it is actually as light as a hair, flexible and graceful. Long Xuanhuan murmured, and at this moment, he got an inspiration. All of his true dragon treasures were extremely powerful, moving vertically and horizontally, but they lacked a hint of agility. The combination of strength and softness is the supreme skill. His eyes suddenly lit up. At this moment, his dragon soul roared, and his treasure skills were directly promoted to a new level. As fast as the wind, as light as falling dust, finally as powerful as a mountain, and as steady as a mountain, what kind of sword skill and state is this? I understand, the way of swordsmanship is not only fast, but also slow, not only ruthless, but also gentle. Zhuge Yuqing also suddenly realized. At this moment, he observed Li Fan's supreme sword skills, and his understanding of sword skills became deeper. Master is worthy of being the ultimate chess player. Every move made by his master embodies the perfection of chess skills. He is clearly a fish, but I feel that it is the chessboard controlled by the master without any errors. Zhang Li looked at the knife marks on the fish, and the bottleneck in his mind suddenly opened. Even Zai Ling and others who were choosing vegetables next to them ran over and watched. Finally, the kitchen knife in Li Fan's hand fell gently. The fish has been filleted. Looking at the expressions of the disciples around him, he smiled slightly and was quite satisfied. To the outside world, my knife skills should be as good as being a chef in a restaurant, right? Then, he gently stretched out his hand and lifted the fish's tail. Suddenly, the fish bones were lifted up from the fish meat, but the fish meat that had been filleted still maintained the appearance of fish, with the slices being the same thickness. Wow! Suddenly, a group of disciples were extremely surprised. Master, if this sword technique is used towards the outside world, I am afraid that the immortal realm will be directly wiped out. Nanfan looked complicated. Master is really too virtuous. Anyone who can marry him will be happy to death. Oh, I feel so heartbroken when I think that Master may marry another girl. Zai Ling looked at Li Fan, her eyes filled with stars. Such a big shot can destroy an entire region with just a kitchen knife, yet he is willing to cook for a group of disciples here. Gongya was unconsciously full of envy for Zai Ling, Zhuge Yuqing, and others, but she suddenly thought that she seemed to be a part of this place now. She couldn't help but feel a little warm in her heart. Here, let's make some soup. Li Fan smiled, set up the pot, and threw the fish bones and ingredients into it to make soup. Soon, the aroma of fish soup overflowed. All the disciples are looking forward to it. Come on, let's sit down and start putting in the fish fillets. The fish fillets are very thin and will be cooked quickly. Li Fan opened his mouth, picked up the fish fillet and started to eat it. Soon, the aroma of fish overflowed. A group of disciples started using their chopsticks. At this moment, outside the small courtyard, a voice suddenly came. Qian Ning and others, come and see Senior Li. Li Fan said. Please come in. Huo Linger and others pushed open the door and entered. As soon as I entered the restaurant, I was immediately hit by the delicious aroma of fish. Wow, what does it smell like? It smells so good. Mu Qianning's beautiful eyes shone. Senior Li. Are you having dinner? Huo Linger was also surprised. Li Fan stood up and said with a smile. You're here just in time, come on, let's have dinner together. Hearing this, Huo Linger and others were also overjoyed and went over to sit around. When they saw the fish in the pot, they were all shocked. No, this meat, how come there are so many rules of the holy way in this meat? Huo Linger was surprised. This, I heard that in Kailan Valley, an ancient saint from the Kinglan tribe has disappeared. Ji Yuanqing was shocked. He was holding the bowls and chopsticks and saw a lot of blue fish scales in the garbage that had not been thrown away. Those are all saint level. Take it out to the outside world, it will be priceless, and can be refined into a supreme battle suit. However, here is a pile of garbage, and the most garbage of garbage. Eat quickly, there's enough fish and meat for today. Li Fan also smiled and spoke. Huo Linger and others were not polite and started eating immediately. This fish is so tender. Master's cooking is so delicious. Zi Ling picked up a piece of fish, dipped it lightly in the dipping water made by Li Fan, and then put it in her mouth. The fish immediately melted in her mouth, and her taste buds bloomed with deliciousness. A group of disciples were all enjoying themselves. Boom! As he was eating, suddenly, Wu Dade's breath suddenly changed. He went directly from the sea-opening realm to the holy seed realm. At this moment, it was like a warm sun in his body. The same was true for Duguyuking. His aura changed rapidly and he also entered the realm of the holy species. In his Danshan and within the Sea of Swords, a divine sword stood above 10,000 swords. That was his sword species. The true Buddha is like the sea, and all living beings are like fish, but be free. Qing Chen also murmured, breaking through. In his Buddha sea, a Buddha figure sitting cross-legged suddenly appeared. Faintly, the Buddha figure looked exactly the same as him. His Buddha seed. In Gongya's Danshan, the huge teapot was even more brilliant with golden light. Countless spiritual springs poured out from the spout. In the ocean of spiritual springs, there seemed to be the light and shadow of a tea tree. My grass has grown into the Danshan. Lu Rang was even more surprised. A terrifying grass appeared in his Danshan, as if it could destroy everything. It was very magical. Next to Li Fan, Xiao Ningning was also full, but at this moment she was a little confused and said, "There are countless poems, which one is the most respected?" Hearing this, Li Fan, who was feeding Xiaobai fish, smiled. Xian Ning is really studious. He was thinking about ancient poems while eating. He immediately said, "Wen Wu is the best, but this sentence may be worthy of respect. Count the romantic figures, but also look at the present." Counting famous people, let's look at the present. A firm light suddenly appeared in Xian Ning's big eyes. Counting the famous people, it depends on the present day. She murmured, and in the sea of poetry in her Danshan, a line of golden characters stood tall on top of the countless poems she had learned. If you count the famous people, look at the present day. This is the kind of poetry she got. A fish can also turn into a dragon. In Long Zixuan's Danshan, there is a terrifying shadow of a real dragon gestating, as if it is an ancient evil. In this life, I only hope that the hanging pot can help the world, so that the world can have less pain. Subakian was also enlightened. A sea suddenly appeared in her Danshan, which was filled with countless miraculous elixirs. She realized a sea of medicines. All the medicines in the sea were the peerless medicines recorded in the original medicine. She has the lowest level of cultivation and has only now broken into the realm of opening up the sea. As for Xiling and Nanfan, they had entered the holy seed realm ahead of schedule because of Li Fan's sweat, and now they have reached the holy seed realm perfection. There is only one step left to become a fourth level powerhouse. Huo Ling Mu Jianing, and others also made great progress. They directly entered the four luminous realm. The last time they had a whole ox feast, they had already entered the realm of sainthood after receiving Li Fan's 2-year-old wine. In comparison, their qualifications were weaker than those of Zi Ling and others, so they made breakthroughs faster. The foundation of Zi Ling and other disciples is like the ocean. It is difficult to make the ocean reach a higher level. But if the base is just a lake, it's easy to make the lake expand a circle. However, the further the foundation is behind you, the more invincible you will be at the same level. Even Ji Yuanking's breath suddenly changed at this moment, and the holy seed was also perfected. Soon, a group of disciples were well fed. Meow meow. Xiaobai's belly was bulging, lying on Li Fan's lap, holding Li Fan's hand with his two little paws, very clingy. Li Fan rubbed Xiaobai's belly and smiled slightly. In fact, The meat quality of this herring is not very good, barely enough, but fortunately I made the soup and ingredients well, so I can still eat it. After all, it is wild, and the meat quality is probably worse than that of domesticated ones. Thinking about it, he subconsciously glanced into the pond. Suddenly, the group of carps that were swimming happily suddenly stopped for an instant. And at this moment, Huang Tianzhou, the three great saint kings of the Ji family, leading many saints, are already here. They found it based on the location mentioned by Ji Changxiao, but saw that there were only some empty residences left in the mountains. A stone tablet stands here. Ji Tianjing's lineage has come out of the Ji family. From now on, it's a clean break. Looking at the words on the stone tablet, a group of people looked very indifferent. The evidence is conclusive. Ji Tianjing's lineage really doesn't take the family seriously. Taigang Holy King spoke indifferently. Several holy kings, according to what my son said, there is a river here that is very similar to Jishui, but it is missing at this moment. According to the records of the clan, the ancestors of our clan seem to reflect reality. Ji Tianhao even asked for credit and said, Ji Tianjing stole the ancestral belongings of the clan, there is no doubt about it. Now, we should find them immediately, investigate the crime of stealing the ancestral items, and then get the ancestral items back. Hearing this, Saint King Taishan also nodded and said, take out the imperial weapon. The imperial weapon and the ancestors of our clan have their own induction and will lead us to find them. When Taishuan Saint King heard this, his expression changed and he said, no. This matter is very likely to involve something strange. How can you use the imperial weapon? When the cause and effect is established, I am afraid that the Ji family will be in ruins. Even now, you are still preventing us from finding the family ancestral artifact. Saint King Taigong immediately looked at Saint King Taishuan indifferently and said, is it possible that you and Ji Tianjing's descendants have some collusion? Taishuan Saint King's face was ugly and his eyes were filled with anger. The other party's words were simply heartbreaking. The key is that he can't say anything more, otherwise it will appear that he really has evil intentions towards the ancestors. Okay, I, Taishuan, will accompany you to the end today to see who is the sinner of the Ji family. He gritted his teeth. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 329. Not long after, a group of people from the Ji family gradually appeared outside the small mountain village. In the hands of Taishan Holy King, he holds a sword. The hilt of the sword is simple, as if it is made of various kinds of sacred gold. The scabbard is gray and the material is unknown, but it has a sense of mystery that has traveled through the years. There seemed to be a trace of blood at the interface between the sword hilt and the scabbard. The blood marks seemed to be left by blood overflowing from the scabbard. Even after hundreds of thousands of years, the blood stains are still indelible. This is the Ji family's imperial sword, once the imperial weapon of Emperor Xuanhuan. Xuanhuan sword. At this moment, they came holding Xuanhuan sword and finally arrived in front of the small mountain village. Huh? Why is it so weird here? Just before arriving in the mountain village, many powerful people were shocked. This mountain village is so scary. Taigang Saint King's pupils shrank and he said, it's terrifying, unpredictable, and full of energy. Is this the residence of the Holy Emperor? Taishan Holy King looked shocked and said, more than that, there seems to be a trace of yang qi circulating here. Could it be that this is a forbidden place? How is this possible? Hearing this, all the saints of the Ji family were shocked. The Forbidden Land? You must know that even the imperial clan is not enough to see the Yang Forbidden Land. Because, Yang Forbidden places, are often formed after Yang disasters. It involves some terrible mysteries and some unspeakable existences. Now, This small mountain village in front of us is actually a forbidden place. No, there is only one Yang forbidden land in the northern immortal territory, and that is the Tianluo Mountains. In the records, it has never happened before. What on earth is going on? Are the ancestors of our clan actually left in the Yang forbidden land? Many saints, kings, saints, etc. were also shocked and confused. Ji Yuanqing and others turned out to have taken refuge in the existence in the Yang forbidden land. No wonder they dared to betray the family. Ji Tianhao's face was cold and he said, "Several holy kings, the Ji family must not let their ancestral belongings be left behind." Taishan Holy King also nodded solemnly and said, "The ancestors are too important, even if it is a forbidden land, I am afraid that we have no choice but to try it. Besides, this may not be the forbidden land of Yang." The Holy King of Taigang spoke and said, "I think it may be an old monster from the Yangtze era hiding here." However, he was not strong enough and could not escape from the forbidden area. Moreover, he was born early before the Yang tide arrived, which means he could not hold on any longer. If we can capture him, not only can we get back the ancestral artifact, but it will also be a great opportunity. As he spoke, his eyes lit up. He has been a holy king for hundreds of thousands of years and cannot break through. If you get this opportunity, you might be able to become a great saint, or even, reach the highest realm. Thinking of this, his eyes burned. "Holy King, this place is dangerous." Ji Tinpan looked at Taixuan Saint King with some caution. However, at this moment, Taixuan Saint King said solemnly, "Even if it's dangerous, there's no other way than trying. The ancestors may really appear." He doesn't want to go. However, the disappearance of the Ji Shui means that the scroll in Ji Yuanking's hand can really reflect reality. This is most likely their ancestor. For the sake of the rise and fall of the Ji family, we have no choice but to break through. Wait here, the three of us will go inside with the imperial weapon and have a try. Taishan Holy King spoke directly. The three holy kings all stepped forward. Ji Tinpan, Ji Tianhao and others all looked extremely solemn and could only wait. Soon, Taishan Holy King and others finally walked into the small mountain village. "It's so scary, I just entered this realm and I feel like all my magical powers have been completely suppressed." As soon as he walked in, Taishan Holy King's expression changed. "That's right, I have a feeling that my cultivation level has been lost by more than half." Taigang Heavenly King was even more shocked. "This is too terrifying. The suppression in this kind of place makes even the Holy King unable to stand it. Isn't this really the forbidden land of the Yang? Could it be that the weirdness that Ji Tianyu was exposed to before came from here?" Taixuan Saint King murmured. "They move on." "Huh? No, this sea of grass, why is it so terrifying? It makes me have the illusion that I can kill the Holy King." "Hiss. Why is there such a wonderful aura in this ditch? Is it Yangtze? Is this plum tree the legendary sacred tree? Its charm is so extraordinary." The three holy kings had only taken a few steps and were already trembling with fear. Moreover, the further they go inside, the more their cultivation is suppressed. "No. I only have the power of the Saint Yin level left." The face of Taishan Holy King is getting more and more ugly. "We won't fall out of the holy realm, right? Can we still recover after leaving?" At this moment, Taigang Heavenly King was a little scared. Even in the Yang forbidden land, it's not so evil. Taixuan Saint King was muttering, and he felt more and more that this place was even scarier than the Yang forbidden land. As they walked, the three of them became more and more frightened. Because, as they went further in, their cultivation level became lower and lower, and eventually, they fell into the realm of immortality. The three of them only have the cultivation level of Deluo Jinxian. At this moment, the three of them were extremely frightened, with cold sweat on their faces. "This is so evil, So weird. Those three guys in front, stop. At this time, an old voice suddenly came from behind. This shout made the three holy kings jump in fright. Ah! They all turned around in fear and backed away subconsciously. But on the side of the road, an old man on crutches was looking at the three of them with a serious look on his face. This person is clearly Uncle Zhao. He looked at these three foreign old men and said in confusion, "What are you doing in our village?" But the three holy kings, at this moment, looked horrified and their throats were dry. Because, they actually couldn't see through the realm of the old man in front of them at all. The other party is just like a mortal, with not a trace of energy leaking out. You must know that although their cultivation has been severely suppressed, their spiritual awareness is still there. Unable to feel it, this shows that the other party's state unfathomable and unimaginable. Forbidden creatures in the Yang Forbidden Land. Taishan Holy King trembled. His crutch, is it an imperial weapon? It makes me feel a huge sense of oppression. Taigong Saint King was even sweating coldly. At this moment, Taixuan Saint King was even more certain, damn, this place, is at least at the level of Yang Forbidden Land. Big weird, big scary place. He bit the bullet, stepped forward and said, "Senior Chi, let's come and find someone." The other party's realm is higher than that of himself and others, so he claims to be a senior. Hearing this, Mr. Zhao was confused and said, "Who are you looking for?" Taixuan Saint King said, "Let's come to find a member of my clan, Jiuan Qing." He didn't dare to hide it. In front of this kind of existence, if you have any thoughts of deception, the other party will be able to see through it at a glance. Hearing this, Mr. Zhao suddenly realized and said, "So I was looking for him, he should have gone to Xiao Li's place. You just keep moving forward." Hearing this, the three holy kings were all slightly shocked. Xiao Li? Who is this? Moreover, this forbidden creature actually guides himself and others. On the contrary, they are a little scared. There won't be any big traps ahead, right? At this time, Uncle Zhao suddenly looked at the three of them with a stern expression and said, "However, I warn you, don't think of doing anything evil in our village. Otherwise, even if you are half dead, I will not spare you my crutch." He had been looking at the three old men for a long time. As soon as these people entered the village, they looked around. They could look at a ditch for a long time, and they could stop for a long time when they saw a broken plum tree. They were sneaky, not unlike he is a good person. It's a lot like being a thief. In this world, there are more and more people who rely on their old age and show no respect for their old age. You should be smart to avoid having things in the village stolen. As he spoke, he even stamped the cane in his hand. In an instant, the expressions of the three holy kings changed. The crutches radiated a little energy, which made all three of them weak at the knees and almost knelt down on the spot. They all looked at the crutch in horror. We must obey orders and don't dare to mess around." Taishan Holy King hurriedly expressed his stance. "Yes, Senior, please don't worry, we will behave ourselves." Saint King Taigong was also afraid. Even though they are holy kings, if someone wants to kill them, they probably only need one thought. The second uncle nodded and said, "You're quite sensible. Go." The three of them looked at each other in shock when they heard this. To be honest, their mentality was really a bit broken now. I really don't want to go forward. If they had known this place was so scary, they would never have come in. But now, it's too late. Moreover, he was targeted by such a terrifying creature. If you don't move forward, you might be killed by others, right? Let's go. We can only move forward. Taishan Holy King said bravely. Not long after, they finally saw a small courtyard. On the door of the small courtyard, there is a plaque with 4 characters. Unparalleled Leisure Court. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 330. In the small courtyard. Finally, everyone had almost eaten. That's right, Senior. At this time, Huolinger said. We are here because we have something to report to you. Senior Xuanqing wants to join us. She spoke to Li Fan. Xuanqing also immediately put down his chopsticks and looked at Li Fan with an anxious look. Li Fan was startled when he heard this. He remembered that the last time Xuanqing's clansmen, Ji Changming and others, came to him in search of the stoneling that Xuanqing sold to him. Later, those people should go find Xuanqing. Now, has Xuanqing not returned to the family? Most of them are still living outside and have no way to live, so they have to seek refuge with Huolinger and others. Old man, are your people treating you badly? Li Fan asked. Hearing this, Xuanqing's expression was shocked. This senior really knows everything. Even though he was thousands of miles away, nothing could escape his eyes. Perhaps, the seniors had already expected that the clan would treat their own lineage indifferently. To be honest, senior, this clan is very disappointing. I have decided to join Miss Huolinger and others to serve senior. He immediately lowered his head and spoke. When Li Fan heard this, he nodded. These days, even relatives can't be relied on. They have to rely on themselves. Now the business of Huolinger and others should have expanded. It would be good for Xuanqing to find some work to support himself. He immediately smiled and said. Since the clan doesn't treat you well, you should make a living on your own. That's good. The indifferent words made Xuanqing instantly excited. Great. Thank you, senior, thank you, senior. He was so grateful. May I ask if the owner of this room is here? At this moment, an old voice suddenly sounded outside. Li Fan was a little surprised when he heard this voice. He seems to be a stranger. Gong Ya, go and open the door. However, Li Fan still spoke. Yes, master. Gong Ya immediately stood up and left. And at this moment, outside the courtyard, the three holy kings all looked frightened. When they saw this small courtyard, they all trembled. Because this small courtyard is clearly like an unfathomable world. The four big characters on the door plaque were like a supreme decree. Just by looking at it, their souls and consciousness were almost about to explode. The horror is supreme. One can imagine what kind of characters would live among them. They have even guessed that this should be the residence of the owner of this restricted area. The owner of the Yang Forbidden Land, that represents great terror. Even a Saint Emperor level figure must be afraid of him. If they hadn't been discovered by the creatures in the forbidden area, they would have turned around and fled. Terrible. I think we really should leave. Waiting, Taigang Heavenly King spoke with some fear. Damn it, do you think I don't want to escape? But do we still have a chance to escape? The terrifying creature behind has already spoken. If we don't go to see the owner here, we will probably be killed. Taishan Holy King also struggled to speak. Squeak. The door to the small courtyard opened. The three holy kings all looked forward hurriedly. I saw a beautiful woman in a black dress had appeared. It was Gong Ya. Gong Ya looked at the three of them doubtfully, and there was something strange in her beautiful eyes. She could feel, the three old men in front of her were very powerful. This kind of powerful person coming here, I'm afraid he is an uninvited guest. However, she still said. What are you doing here, three of you? When the three holy kings saw Gong Ya, their expressions became even more nervous. Could this woman in front of me be the owner of the restricted area? We, came to find my clan member, Xuanhuan. Taixuan Saint King continues to speak. Hearing this, Gongya was surprised. It turned out to be the Ji clan. Imperial clan. She immediately looked a little solemn and said, "You three please." The three holy kings looked at each other in confusion. "Let's go. We've come this far, let's fight." Taishan Holy King gritted his teeth and had no choice. The three of them immediately stepped forward and entered the small courtyard. The moment you enter the small courtyard, boom! The three of them suddenly froze, and for a moment, their bodies were like sieves of chaff. They all clearly felt a terrifying energy, even the Holy King couldn't bear it. No. All three of them had their legs weak, unable to stand, and immediately fell to their knees on the ground. They were lying on the ground, their faces extremely pale, and their hearts were horrified. Seeing this scene, everyone in the small courtyard was shocked. These three people are so powerful, far beyond the saints. Such a powerful being can only kneel down when he comes to our courtyard. All the disciples have complicated expressions. This scene was no longer unfamiliar to them. Li Fan was stunned for a moment. What are these three old men doing? Kowtow when you see yourself? This is. He wondered. When Gongya saw this, she also had a complicated look on her face. She clearly felt that these three old men were all amazingly powerful. She immediately said, "Master, these three are from the Ji family and have come to see Ji Yuanqing." Hearing this, Li Fan looked at Ji Yuanqing doubtfully and said, "Old man, are these three of your race?" And Ji Yuanqing was also stunned at this moment. Because, he saw the sword in the hand of Taishan Saint King. Ancestral Emperor sword. He was shocked. Being able to come here holding the Ancestral Emperor sword was enough to show that these three people were definitely the ones in charge of the clan. He betrayed the family and actually attracted the pursuit of such people. Ji Yuanqing felt complicated, thinking that it was lucky that she had taken refuge in Senior Li. He immediately said, "Senior Li, they are indeed of the same race as me." Hearing this, Li Fan also smiled and said, "I see." He immediately looked at the three Taixuan Saint Kings and said, "Three old men, please get up, why do you need to give such a grand ceremony?" On the ground, the three holy kings who were trembling with fear of being oppressed suddenly felt at this moment that all the terrifying pressure on their bodies had disappeared. Moreover, an inexplicable force made them stand up uncontrollably. Suddenly, the three of them were even more horrified. Follow your words. Moreover, even the Saint King level figures cannot resist his words and actions. They all looked at Li Fan, their eyes extremely shocked. He seems to be just an ordinary young man. He actually has such terrifying cultivation. Great sage. Quasi-emperor. Even, maybe it's the Holy Emperor level? This is terrible. The three of them were all sure in an instant that the young man in front of them was the Lord of the Forbidden Land. See, Senior. All three of them spoke in awe and with utmost respect. Li Fan nodded and said, "Have you guys had dinner?" Although they had almost finished eating, the tables had not been cleared yet. When a guest came at this time, Li Fan felt that he could only ask politely. But the three holy kings all looked startled. "Have you had dinner?" This question makes them a little confused. This senior must have a deep meaning when he asks such a question. Taishan Holy King racked his brains on the spot and felt that he couldn't figure it out. "It's over. I heard that prisoners will be given a full meal before they die. Is this senior going to send us on our way?" Taigang Holy King even felt his legs weak and frightened. Taixuan Saint King's scalp was numb and he could only grit his teeth and say, "Senior Chi, not yet. In any case, in front of this kind of existence, you can only speak truthfully." When Li Fan heard this answer, he was stunned. "Damn, you don't play by the rules. In normal human relations and social etiquette, shouldn't you reply that you have eaten? After all, who in the right mind would come to someone else's house and directly say that they haven't eaten yet? Isn't that a clear sign of cheating? However, Li Fan thought for a moment and suddenly understood that these three people were probably very hungry. After all, at first glance, these three people's faces were pale from hunger, and they were even trembling a little from hunger. Li Fan could only say, "Since you haven't eaten, the three of you should sit down and eat some." Hearing this, the three holy kings felt even more confused. What is the intention of the senior? No matter what, if the senior wants to kill us, all he needs to do is think, we will do it. Saint King Taixuan spoke immediately. The three of them could only say respectfully, "As you command." So they took their seats. "You three, please feel free to eat some. This herring is a bit too coarse to entertain guests, so please don't dislike it." Li Fan spoke. But the three holy kings were all shocked. "What's in this pot? Is it saint-level fish meat?" Taishan Holy King was a little shocked. Although they were holy kings, but, they had never seen saint-level creatures as food. "This kind of smell, my god, just taking a whiff of it makes me feel a lot more energetic." Taigong Saint King took a sip of the smell of fish soup with surprise in his eyes. Li Fan had already spoken, and they didn't dare to be disrespectful, so they immediately started eating with chopsticks. "Fish meat in your mouth?" Boom. Suddenly, the expression of Saint King Taishan changed. My life force, has actually become more vigorous." He was shocked. "Me too, my god, a few mouthfuls of fish make me feel like I can live another 1,000 years. Taigong Saint King was also excited. Taixuan Saint King stood up directly and said gratefully, "Thank you, senior, for giving me this kind of holy soup." Saint King Taishan and Saint King Taigong also hurriedly stood up and saluted. "This is simply a great blessing. You must know that in their realm, all kinds of holy medicines in the clan have been used for a long time, and now almost any holy medicine can no longer prolong their lives. But, at this moment, just a few bites of fish. Let them increase their lifespan by thousands of years for nothing. What a gift is this?" Li Fan nodded and said, "No need to be polite. I wonder what the three of you came here for." Seeing that they were almost finished eating, Li Fan also asked questions. Hearing this, the three of them hesitated. "Don't be afraid. Since the senior has given us such great blessings, it seems that he is a friend rather than an enemy." Taigong Saint King sent a message and speculated. Taishan Holy King also nodded. "It is very likely that the senior still has some old relationship with the Ji family, so he is so generous in supporting him. In this case, if he tells others about it, his old man should support it." Taishan Holy King immediately said, "Senior Kijhen, we are here to find Ji Yuanqing." Taishan Holy King looked at Ji Yuanqing and said, "He stole a treasure from our clan and betrayed our Ji family. As the leaders of the Ji family, we have to come." When Li Fan heard this, he frowned and looked at Ji Yuanqing. "Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert." Author, Gui Xian. Chapter 331. Li Fan looked at Ji Yuanqing with some doubts in his eyes. Ji Yuanqing, on the other hand, was also shocked at this moment. Did he steal something from his clan? He suddenly became a little angry and said, "Although I, Ji Yuanqing, have a humble status, I am not a rooster or a robber. What's more, I haven't returned to Ji's house yet, how can I steal?" Hearing this, Saint King Taishan turned cold and said, "You didn't steal it, your ancestors stole it." Taigong Saint King also looked at Ji Yuanqing and said, "Don't try to hide it. The scroll involving Jishui must be in your hands. This is the ancestral property of the Ji family and you are not allowed to get involved." He speaks righteously. Ji Yuanqing was stunned when he heard this. A scroll involving Jishui, an ancestor of the Ji family. He immediately took out a scroll and said, "What you are talking about, is this?" The moment this scroll appeared, the expressions of the three holy kings changed. They all sensed the wisps of energy in this painting. This kind of energy gave the three of them an inexplicable feeling in their skills. "Yes, that's it." Holy King Taishan was immediately excited. "As expected, it was your ancestor who stole the treasures of our Ji family, as expected." Taigang Saint King's eyes were extremely greedy, and he stretched out his hand and said, "Hand it over." Taixuan Saint King's eyes were filled with astonishment and deep disappointment. "Actually, it's truly an ancestral item. In the past, I was extremely optimistic about the genius, Ji Tianjing, who dared to fight against the evil like the ancestor emperor. Did he really steal the family treasure? He really stayed behind just to monopolize the ancestral property." He felt deeply sad. When Ji Yuanqing heard this, he said angrily, "You are such a mouthful. This painting has nothing to do with the Ji family." Taishan Holy King shouted, "You still dare to quibble? Do you think you can hide it from us? It's really ridiculous. Even now, you still want to take possession of the family treasure. Are you so brave that you want to die?" The Holy King of Taigang was even more angry and spoke, "This painting does not belong to your Ji family." At this time, Li Fan suddenly spoke calmly. Hearing this, the expressions of the three holy kings changed slightly, and they looked at Li Fan with fear and doubt in their eyes. "Why does the senior?" "Because I painted this painting." Li Fan continued speaking calmly. Suddenly, the expressions of the three holy kings suddenly changed. Hearing this sentence, the three of them were shocked. This painting that can reflect reality and bring Jishuidu back to life, was actually painted by Li Fan? How can this be? They were shocked. "No. Impossible, this is the ancestor of our clan." Taishan Holy King muttered silently. He couldn't believe it. According to legend, the treasure that made the entire Ji family prosperous and allowed Emperor Xuanhuan to attain enlightenment, how could it be painted by Li Fan? No. This is absolutely impossible. Taigong Saint King was even more disbelieving. Taixuan Saint King was shocked. He looked at Li Fan, and he didn't know what he thought of in his eyes. "Old man, could you please open the painting?" Li Fan spoke calmly towards Ji Yuanqing. When Ji Yuanqing heard this, he nodded immediately. He immediately opened the scroll. In the picture scroll, there is a vast river. It's as if you can feel the sound of the waves crashing on the shore through the scroll, the meaning of the waves. Seeing this painting, the pupils of the three holy kings shrank instantly. Because, the river in this painting, no different from Ji Shui. And right now, the sword in Taishan Holy King's hand suddenly started to tremble. All of a sudden, it's like time and space are spinning, and there are thousands of reincarnations. A sword intent seemed to burst out from the scabbard. At this moment, among Li Fan's disciples, Lu Rang suddenly felt something. He suddenly looked back and stared at the sword. In the sea of grass in his dantian, an invincible grass emits thousands of rays of light. At this moment, he suddenly felt like the years were turning and time and space had changed drastically. In addition to him, there is another person who is also involved in time and space by this inexplicable force, that is the Taixuan Saint King of the Ji family. Boom! In an instant, Lu Rang felt as if he was in another world. In front of his eyes, it's the vast ancient time and space. Opening his eyes, he saw a surging river flowing out of a mysterious swamp. Big waves hit the shore, and the angry waves rolled up the frost and snow. And above the sky, a terrifying battle is taking place. Taixuan Saint King also looked at everything in front of him in shock. Ji Xuanhuan, even though you are a genius, you are not even a holy emperor. Why should you stop us? Enter my land and become my slave. You will have great opportunities and eternal life in the forbidden land. Otherwise, when the people from the underworld come, you will definitely die. In the sky, a terrifying being roared angrily. The endless aura of the holy way is falling down, boundless. And under the sky, a man in white, holding a sword in his hand, is facing the sky alone. His white clothes were stained with blood. With his long hair flying, he looked up to the sky and roared, his anger filling the sky. You are the emperor, but you are willing to be a lackey and bring trouble to the fairy land. I, Xuanhuan, am the great sage. This sword is immortal, so don't even think about it. His eyes are about to burst, and his sword power shakes the universe. However, the boundless attacks came down suddenly, and Xuanhuan in white was finally defeated. He coughed up blood, with hatred in his eyes. Why struggle in vain? The entire immortal realm will be extinct. Above the sky, an indifferent voice sounded, and a big hand came down, destroying the sky and the earth, destroying everything. There was almost despair in Xuanhuan's eyes. No. The Holy Emperor Kailan once told me a secret that there will be a powerful person in the future of the human race, who will be tribulation for eternity. In this life, I will carry it, I will go to the next life and take advantage of this opportunity. Suddenly, the sword in his hand passed through his palm. The sword is bloody. Then put it into the sheath. Suddenly, his monstrous cultivation burst out, tearing apart the ocean of cause and effect, opening up the long river of time, and throwing a sword in his hand into the future. It's ridiculous. The underworld is just a broken reflection of the Yang world, and all living things are just false after-images. Even if you go through the years, you won't be able to find a strong person who can resist the Yang world. In the sky, the indifferent voice is so cold. The big hand finally falls. Xuanhuan in white is about to fall. However, right now, boom! The long river of cause and effect is reversed. The passage of time has brought great changes. In the sky, suddenly there was a divine sword, flowing back through the long river of time. The divine sword appeared next to Lu Rang. Lu Rang was immediately shocked. This sword was clearly the one brought into the courtyard by the three holy kings of the Ji family. When this sword appears, the energy in the sky and on the earth will be unparalleled. No. How is it possible? How can this sword come back? Is there really such a strong person in the downstream of the years? Above the sky, the terrifying existence spoke in shock. And Xuanhuan in white let out a loud roar at this moment, and the sword instantly fell into his hand. At this moment, Xuanhuan's cultivation in white was boiling. My sword, traveling with the years, can be seen. He murmured and suddenly drew his sword. On the earth, the vast and surging river suddenly turned into a sweeping force. He turned the river into a sword and stepped on the waves to rise. Thousands of rowers. Xuanhuan, proved the Holy Emperor. At this moment, everything in the world is boiling. He holds the sword and cuts 9 heavens. Above the sky, the terrifying and vast attacks were all eliminated with this sword. Xuanhuan, proving the Holy Emperor, no, it's impossible. How can there be such a strong person in the mere underworld, in the lower reaches of the years? Your sword rushes into the future, and you should have endured great weirdness and great ominousness, unless there are beings in the lower reaches of the years to bear these causes and effects for you. How can you reverse the time and space and come back? In the sky, the unknown existence shouted in horror. In an instant, all enemies retreated with this sword. The heaven and earth are clear and bright, and everything is silent. In the world, there is only Xuanhuan, dressed in white and holding a long sword, standing tall in the universe. He looked around the world, as if looking for an enemy. Nothing was found. He lowered his head and saw that the mighty river had fallen back onto the wasteland. This water originates from the big swamp and is destined to me. From today on, This river will be named Jishui. This is the place where our race originated. He murmured. The river roared, he raised his hand, and countless sources of holy Dao Qi were submerged into the river. Then, Xuanhuan in white raised his eyes and looked at Lu Rang and Taixuan Saint King who appeared here. At this moment, behind Lu Rang, a piece of grass suddenly rose up against the sky, as if shaking the eternal sky, making it impossible to look directly at it. Xuanhuan in white suddenly smiled, his eyes seemed a little complicated. I am a shadow rushing towards the future and dying in the years. But I got another new life. He looked at the grass and murmured. Thank you for giving me a chance to come back to me, but you are no longer me. Then, he looked at Taixuan Saint King. You are destined to be another shadow of me rushing into the future. Ji Xuanhuan felt something and murmured, it's a pity that another shadow has also fallen. As for Taixuan Saint King, he was extremely excited at this moment. He suddenly knelt down and said, Greetings to the ancestor emperor. He was shocked because Ji Xuanhuan actually. It was exactly the same as the Ji Tianjing he knew in later generations. However, Ji Xuanhuan did not pay much attention to him, but gave way to Lu and suddenly saluted. After this battle, the senior and the most powerful person from the lower reaches of the world, will also be known to people from the underworld. Xuanhuan will be the vanguard, killing towards the Yangjian, if you are lucky enough not to die, and one day, if you have the chance, you may be able to personally pay a visit to the senior who has traveled down the years in the Yangjian. Thank you. After saying that, he drifted away. No more stops. At this moment, time and space flowed, and the years roared. For a moment, Lu Rang and Taixuan Saint King were in a trance for a while. They had returned to the small courtyard. At this moment, Lu Rang lowered his head and glanced at the pot of grass in front of him. The grass blades were moving without the wind, as if he was saluting Li Fan. Then, he looked at the trembling divine sword in the hand of Saint King Taishan. When his eyes fell on Li Fan, he was instantly filled with shock and awe. Among the three holy kings, Saint Taixuan's expression froze even more. He looked at Li Fan, his eyes filled with ultimate awe. Like worshipping gods.